Hey everybody, I am freshly back from E3 and I wanted to take some time to make a rare, edited, not scripted, but edited video to talk about what I saw at E3. It was an awesome convention. It was our first E3 and it was really cool because we got to play so many games, which oftentimes doesn't happen. You know, at PAX, you're busy, walking around, meeting people, stuff like that. Not that I'm complaining, but at E3, it really was all about the games for us. We got to play so many. And I'm going to highlight here 5 of the top experiences that I had at the show in no particular order. I'm not going to BuzzFeed you, you won't believe what's number 1, because they're not in any particular order. Keep in mind, these are previews of games. A couple of these, actually just one of these, I didn't actually get hands-on myself, but I was so impressed with the gameplay demo that they showed us that I put it on the list. But don't take this as an endorsement to purchase it. Just take this is what I was most impressed with at the show. We'll see how it actually is when it came out, or when it comes out, I should say. But I'm going to start with Resident Evil 7. There was a lot of buzz about this, particularly from, friend of the channel, Rockly Smile, who has like 12 hours in the demo that Capcom released. But this was announced during the Sony conference, which we were actually at, and it was a cool moment, but at the time, I wasn't really that excited because I've never been much of a Resident Evil fan. If I kind of had this opinion, like if I didn't get in 4, which is considered by many to be like the best of the genre, well, it is now really the right time for me to jump in, but honestly, it might be. We actually did a PSVR version of the demo that they had at the show floor, which is really cool to actually get to experience Sony VR for the first time, especially having a little bit of experience with the Vive. And I was digging the atmospheric horror vibe that it gave me there. Now, I will say, mostly the reason this is making the list is I think it's a cool new way for the series to go. We don't know if it's exactly going to stick with the creepy kind of PT style that it's got going on, or if it's going to be more combat and action focused when it actually comes out. But I think they're taking a leap of faith, which is really cool. And in particular, this was a memorable moment for me to try out PSVR. How was it? It was good, but with a caveat. It feels a little bit lighter. Dare I say a little bit cheaper than the Vive, which it literally is at $400 versus $700. But it feels like really accessible. Like when I put it on my head, it's easy to adjust. It looks relatively good. The one caveat, and it's a big caveat, I will admit, and I'm not the only person who said this. In particular, I saw a Eurogamer article that said this, but when I was playing, I did get pretty bad motion sickness. I don't know if it's due to the frame rate. I don't know if it's due to the fact that I was sitting down but playing a game in which I was walking. But ignoring that, I had a really good time playing Resident Evil 7. I'm excited to see how it actually is when it comes out, and it's making it onto the list here, mostly because I'm excited about VR. Cool new element for the series to take, or direction for the series to take, and I want more full game experiences that are VR compatible. This seems like a good sign for that, so that's gonna squeak on there. Secondly, I'm gonna say Gwent, and I really went into the show, I knew that Gwent was announced. It was announced like the day before E3 or something like that, so I knew going in that we were gonna get a chance to play it. But what I didn't expect is that it would be more than just a standalone, like Hearthstone style, play Gwent multiplayer against your friends sort of game. And that's really what gets it onto, my list of most memorable experiences from the event, is that it really does feel like it's not Magic the Gathering Online or Hearthstone or something like that. It's an adventure game where instead of using turn-based combat, or real-time combat for that matter, or grid-based combat, etc., you're fighting your battles in the form of cards. So it is a little bit of a niche product, I think, even though The Witcher 3 is huge. If you say, remember that card game for The Witcher 3? Well, they spun out a whole adventure RPG based on it. Might not appeal to everybody, but during the demo, we got a chance to play Gwent itself. We didn't get a chance to play the adventure game that overlaps with it, or the layer that is over top of it. But I had a great time. We played some multiplayer. It was fun. I need to spend a little bit more time to understand the mechanics of the game, even though I beat my opponent. No, I'm just saying, I don't know who they were, but they were very respectful. In defeat, as well as in hypothetical victory, I'm sure. But anyway, it seems really cool. It really seems like the Banner Saga. It has that adventure story style overworld, but then when you actually get into battles or situations, they're solved with cards. It seems neat. It seems more than you would expect from an on-paper pitch of what Gwent, a Witcher card game, would actually be. And honestly, it might be the game from the show that I left being like, I want to play this now. Like, I want this immediately. Closed beta signups are available. Supposedly they open in September. Hopefully I get into that. Third, with the rest of the stuff, I guess, is all indie. If CD Projekt Red is an indie, the rest of the stuff definitely counts as indie. This one took me totally by surprise. Manifold Garden. This was in the Sony area. And it really is, again, not to just mention Nick all the time, but it really is a Nick game that also appealed to me as well. It's a first-person puzzler. It's very beautiful, very kind of minimalistic graphics, but it's got a dynamic lighting engine that makes it look dynamic. I know that sounds like a cheap way to kind of deal with that criticism, or to describe it, I guess I should say. But really, it gives it a lot of depth, which is cool, and it helps it look a little bit more visually striking than a lot of games that come out that don't necessarily appeal to me in the same genre. And it's kind of like a first-person 3D Fez, if that makes sense. You go to a wall, you press R2, the wall rotates underneath you, and gravity also rotates that 90 degrees with you as well. So it's a physics-based puzzler. I played like 20 minutes, but I only scratched the surface. You start by just picking up blocks, and it feels like it's a portal sort of test chamber, solve one puzzle, move on to the next puzzle sort of situation. But later you realize there's an overarching overworld which is all connected to one another, and as you manipulate the gravity in one area, you might be able to perhaps fall through the map. Not fall through the map, but you fall off of the map, and then the world will wrap back on itself, and you'll find yourself on a different part of that same structure that you were on. It's hard to explain, but it was really beautiful. Really took me by surprise that I enjoyed it so much, given that these are not always the kind of games that I'm super into. Really clever. Like, the game seems absurdly clever, and on the first day, this was honestly probably the best thing I actually got a chance to play for myself. It's in the running for the best thing I saw or got a chance to play, and that leads me into number 4, which is, well, not number 4, but the 4th item here, which is Yooka-Laylee. And Yooka-Laylee, of course, is the collectathon 3D platformer from Playtonic, and of course this made a big splash on Kickstarter when it raised so much money as a spiritual successor to games like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Super Mario 64, etc., etc. I am self-described not really a fan of 3D collectathon style platformers. When it comes to platformers, I am Mario. I want to start the level, get to the end of the level, I want to make hard jumps, etc., etc. I don't want to find 30 puzzle pieces and then collect the hidden tape and then Tony Hawk reunites with his son, etc., etc. But Yooka-Laylee made me a believer. I played A Hat in Time, and I played that like 2 years ago, but A Hat in Time was really cool as well. Yooka-Laylee blew me away, though. Now, I didn't actually get hands-on with it. It was the people at the booth that were playing the game and then describing it to us as they played and giving us kind of that vertical slice. But it really seems like they nailed everything about the game the way they described it in the Kickstarter. It looks like Banjo-Kazooie would look in 2016. I mean that in the best way possible. It's not like an HD remake. It's literally, though, like imagine that the last 17 years didn't happen and we just kept making 3D collectathon platformers. This is how you would expect them to look if the genre had come to 2016. It's got all sorts of cool stuff going on, like puzzles that you can... It's hard to explain, because I mean, it's not under embargo to the best of my knowledge, but there's like different abilities that you have between the two characters. You can manipulate those abilities to interact with your environment, which changes your environment. Like, for example, there's berries that basically carry the fire property, and if you shoot that, let's go with the ice one first. If you shoot the ice berry at this cloud NPC, the cloud NPC will start to snow. Him snowing will change the environment from like a lush forest that you're in to actually being at least like freezing over the river. By freezing over the river, that allows you to reach new parts of the map. Reaching new parts of the map opens up new objectives and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't just seem like we built this awesome environment, go find the, 100 musical notes and the 10 butterflies and stuff like that. It really feels like, at least in the presentation that we saw, which again, I didn't get hands-on, but we were watching live gameplay, it seems really dynamic, it seems really cool, and if you are... Let me put it this way, if you contributed to the Kickstarter, I have to imagine that you're liking what you're seeing right now. This was maybe the most impressive thing, from my perspective at least, that I saw at E3 2016. I went in with like no expectations whatsoever. I was like, everyone's saying good things, I'm sure it's cool. But watching the demo, I was like, you nailed it. If you're into this sort of game, I think you're gonna love it. Again, didn't touch the controller myself though. And finally, I had the pleasure on the third day to actually check out Absolver. And Absolver, it's easy to remember who published it because it rhymes, is Devolver's publishing it because they're not making it, game, Devolver Digital. And it is basically an action RPG, but instead of having a sword or a gun or your hand turns into a sledgehammer or something like that, it uses a style of combat that is really fluid, martial arts, and the moves chain into one another in a way that you can actually create for yourself. So for example, square might be just a jab, and then if you square, it'll be like jab, behind the back fist, like a spinning back fist or something like that, and then square is jab, spinning back fist, and then a kick. But each one of those actually moves you or can move you to a different stance, and there's 4 different possible stances. So it might be like jab, spinning back fist puts you in like a defensive position, and then with the final part of the combo, you end up in a I don't know, let's just say an offensive position at the end. So effectively, you not only chain combos together, but those combos also chain the stance that you're in, which changes your fighting style. And it seems really fluid, like people are going to be able to have these awesome fights that really look like old school martial arts movies. And what I played, I spent a half hour hands-on with it playing with the developer, was very much true to that high-level description that I'm giving you right now. The other thing that's really cool about it is the way that you learn moves. Obviously, you can learn them, through single player as well, but there's also an online system. Yes, you can punch your friends in the face and kill them and take their stuff. That's important, of course. But the way that you learn moves in the game is kind of analogous to real life. I mean, it's got a little bit of a gameplay abstraction as well, but what's cool is that, like, your friend might know a move and you're like, hey, I want you to teach me that. He doesn't just, like, give you a gem that teaches it to you. If he demonstrates it in front of you enough times, you gain enough experience that you actually learn the move that you're watching. I didn't see that in action. It sounds complex, but if it actually works, it seems extremely elegant. And this is the game that I'm really excited to check out, hopefully on the NLSS eventually. This seems really cool. It was a little bit out of character for Devolver. I mean, it doesn't have like a DOS 1 soundtrack and, bumping neon lights or anything like that. Not to stereotype Devolver games, which do run the gamut. But it was really, like, it looks ambitious. Everybody was coming away from the show talking about this. I know people are going to ask, where's Zelda? Didn't get a chance to play it. Did you go to the VR porn area? No, I did not. Well, I went, but I only read the articles. No, seriously, I walked by. There was a huge crowd, and I was like, okay. I'm not sure if you should be Jay Owen on the show floor. But anyway, that's my quick recap of E3 2016. It was a really cool convention to be at. These games all look awesome, or gave me an experience that I think is worth talking about. I saw lots of other stuff. We'll talk about it on the show. If not on the NLSS, definitely on Roundtable. Played Civ 6. I played Agents of Mayhem, Volition's new game. The Saints Row guys. I played Hand of Fate 2. I played all sorts of stuff that I'm excited to talk about. These are the 5 big ones. So I hope you guys... I don't know why 5 big ones sounds like a strange phrase, but I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. If you did, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.